What's up everyone, welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today's video is a review of Blitz. It's the latest from director Steve McQueen, whose previous work includes Hunger, Shame, and 12 Years a Slave. Set during World War II, the movie follows a 9-year-old boy named George, whose mother sends him to the English countryside to evade the Blitz. That's when Nazi Germany was dropping bombs on cities and towns. Before I jump into the review, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I post here on the channel.
My mom sent me away.
She did it to keep you safe.
Your son did not arrive at his destination.
You're responsible for his safety. Why can't you tell me? Where's my boy?
With Blitz, McQueen seems determined to make a different kind of World War II movie. Now, most of the movies I've seen from this time period tend to focus on the soldiers, the battles, and the campaigns, which were all important parts of the war. But here, the story is focusing on the other side of that. It's looking at the war from the lens of everyday people who were affected. Parents who sent their kids away to safety, people who were working in the factories, and you see the uncertainty they face each night of the bombings when they're frantically trying to find shelter. Now, the movie is told from two parallel storylines. Now, you have Rita, played by Saoirse Ronan, a single mother living in London with her son George, played by newcomer Elliot Heffernan. Rita decides to send George away by train to the countryside to protect him from the bombings, but when the train reaches the outskirts of London, George, who wasn't thrilled with being sent away, decides he's not going to the countryside and jumps from the train to make his way back home. So then the movie follows Rita, who's working in the factory, who feels remorse for sending her son away and how things ended when they parted ways. And it also follows George, who is trying to make his way back home and encounters all these different types of people. And during those two different storylines, both actors give really good performances. Ronan is doing a very understated performance, and you see a range of emotions from her. She's a single woman, an unwed mother of a biracial child in 1940s London, and she has to navigate society with people commenting on her status. And she's also a mother, again, who's torn by her decision to send her son away and how they left things the last time they spoke. And you can see regret and sadness on her face, and Ronan is just excellent here. Then you have Heffernan, who is a newcomer, and he is just so well cast here. His character George is this sweet, wide-eyed child who is also the target of constant bullying because of his race. And in those moments, the look of sadness on his face really pull at your heartstrings. And as he's making his way back to London, he's encountering all sorts of people, some good, some bad, and he doesn't know their intentions. He doesn't know who to trust. And the actor just has this amazing ability to have this really strong look of skepticism during those moments. I mean, he's just great. Now, if you've seen any of McQueen's previous movies, like 12 Years a Slave or Shame, for example, you know that they often deal with a lot of heavy subjects. And the same is true here, but McQueen is taking a softer approach to the story. Blitz addresses the atrocities of war. It's also tackling racism and classism. There's violence. But since the movie is mostly told from the perspective of this young child, it doesn't linger on those things. Now, after watching this movie, I thought back to 12 Years a Slave, and that's a movie about slavery, which is a terrible, horrible moment in human history. But it made me think about how McQueen chose to show suffering and what scenes he tends to linger on and which ones he tends to cut away from. And often you will see scenes where he is showing a character being oppressed and the camera doesn't cut away from it. It lingers there, and it really makes a point to put it right in the face of the audience so that you want to look away because it's just so horrible. Now in Blitz, McQueen will often cut away from what would be some really gruesome moments. For example, there's a scene where people are enjoying their evening, they're socializing, and suddenly the bombs come. Now you see their reaction to the sound of the bombs, and you might see the building shake. But then the movie cuts away. So you don't actually see the bombing, and you don't see people getting blown up or impaled. You just see the aftermath later. And this is another example of McQueen choosing when to show the violence and when to let the audience fill in the blanks. And I think he does that not just from a storytelling standpoint, because we are seeing a lot of this from a child's view, but also to make the movie a bit more accessible to younger audiences. I think this movie also did a good job tackling racism, and you mostly see that with the other characters and how they interact with George. Other kids bully him, they call him names. The movie makes a point of also showing the prejudices that are alive in the society, a society that's also fighting against the Nazis. And that comparison is not lost in this movie. I also want to mention the score, which is by Hans Zimmer, the great Hans Zimmer. And this score is very beautiful. And I liked how the music incorporated other sounds from the movie. For instance, you might have a train whistle, and the train whistle is then incorporated into the music, which then helps transition to the next scene. And there's a lot of overlapping sounds as well. And I thought it was just really good and effective, especially, to capture the mood and tone of this movie. And I also think the production design was also very good. Even though I enjoyed this movie, it does have flaws. And the biggest one, I think, is what happens in the second half of this movie. There's a part of George's storyline that feels like it was ripped from a Charles Dickens novel. And it literally took me out of the film because it just felt so out of place. And the characters that he interacts with during that part of the movie are pretty much just caricatures. And even the way the actors portray those characters is very over the top and ridiculous. And again, it just felt so counter to everything else that we were seeing in the movie. But still, I think Blitz is a very good movie. I think it has excellent performances. I think it has very good production design, an amazing score, and a lot of heart. And I definitely think it's worth watching. So those are my thoughts on Blitz. Share your thoughts in the comments below and stick around for more videos like this.